Good evening. Let's call this meeting to order and let's begin with the invocation and pledge allegiance.
Please stand. Lord, let us take a moment to pause and reflect as we begin this evening's board meeting. We gather tonight with the opportunity to serve and help shape the future of our students and community. We give thanks for the dedication of every board member present, and we extend special blessings to those re-elected and who are about to be sworn in this evening. As they reaffirm their oaths, may they feel their continued trust placed in them by our community. May they be guided by wisdom, fairness, and a deep sense of purpose as they carry forward their commitment to every student, staff member, and family in our district. We also recognize the importance of ongoing growth. As these dedicated leaders engage in training today, we ask that you bless this training and that it be filled with productive discussion, respectful dialogue, and a renewed spirit. We ask all these things in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay,
Now.
public comments?
Yes, sir. We had one person to speak. I just want to let the board know in BED local policy that at regular meetings, at regular board meetings, the board shall permit public comment regardless of whether the topic on the item of the agenda posted with the notice of the meeting. But special meetings, at all of the board meetings, public comment shall be limited to items on the agenda posted with the notice of the meeting. So, Mr. Bernal, is your topic today of a posted item?
Other business?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so let me read the rules of engagement. When addressing the audience during the public forum, speakers' commentary must adhere to the following. Everyone must model courtesy and respect. Speakers shall not employ profane or threatening language, nor shall they engage in any personal attacks. The public has the right to make critical and harsh remarks. However, the expectation is that the message delivered by the speaker is done so in a constructive manner with a collaborative purpose. Speakers are expected to respect both the decorum of the public meeting and authority of the board. The Board of Trustees requests that derogatory or inflammatory statements and personal attacks on individuals be avoided. Caution should be exercised in publicly attacking specific individuals. In accordance with Board Policy BED Local, the board shall not deliberate or respond to any subject that is not included on the agenda posted with a notice of the meeting. Speakers who have signed up to speak on the specific agenda item must focus their own comments on the posted agenda item. We have Peter Bernal, who signed up to speak general public comments this evening. Mr. Bernal, you have 3 minutes to make your public comments.
Dear board members, thank you for your time and presence, and congratulations to you two for winning once again another election. Over the past several months, I've taken deliberate good faith steps in working with the Legacy Band Booster and district administration, resolving escalating issues surrounding the booster organization. Despite efforts, multiple opportunities for correction, no meaningful action has been taken to address concerns raised. To this date, the district has failed to reinstate the Booster Club ability to fundraise, support students, acknowledgement or reverse of improper removal of elected boosters executive board, provide justification of due process and action against apparent volunteers, address public misstatements during the booster meetings regarding the 2020 missing funds, respect the legal autonomy of the club, a 501c3 nonprofit, and equitably concerns district officials forcibly have removed elected boosters and executive board without cause of lawful authority, violating organization independence government. Falsely stating public booster meeting, no investigation took place regarding missing funds, contradicting the written documentation from CFO of July 2024, restricted parent involvement in student support activities in violation of both Texas law and district policy, prohibit the club from using its illegal established names effectively in silencing operations, and failed to provide any formal notice and justification of transparency for these actions in violation of government norms. These actions conflict with the following legal provisions under Texas Education Code: 11.15B, overreach of district authority; Texas Education Code 11.1513F and G, misuse of administrative power, ethical misconduct; Texas Education Code 26001, denial unlawful parent involvement in public education. Texas Education Code 37105, improper exclusion for school property. Texas Education Code 443, mishandling of agreement related to public assets. And Texas Penal Code 3103 and 3710, unauthorized proper procedure and false public statements. Because these are serious, remain unresolved, I formally notifying the board that I will be submitting a complaint to Texas Education requesting a special accreditation pursuant to Texas Education Code 39003. This is no longer a matter of internal disagreement. This is a matter of government failure and legal noncompliance and the suppression of parent community involvement in the public education. I stand ready to provide supporting documentation to TA with fully cooperative and all requires an investigation stemming from this request. Thank you, board.
Thank you. Okay, consider approval of canvas votes and declare winners of May 3rd, 2025 school board trustee election.
Yes, I'd like to call up Scott. Scott is the one who will present this information.
Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Ball. On May 3rd, the Southwest ISD held a joint election with the City of Lytle to fill 2 at-large places. There were a total of 4 candidates running for these 2 positions. Early voting was conducted at the District Administration Building and McAuliffe Middle School from April 22nd through April 29th. And of course, our election day was Saturday, May 3rd. The district contracted with Bexar County to host our elections. And at this time, district administration recommends the board approve the canvass of the 2025 school election results and to declare Ms. Ida Sadolkin and Mr. Sylvester Vasquez as the winners.
Thank you, Scott, for your work on this.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion at this, thank you.
I move that.
I'll second.
We have a motion second. Questions, anyone? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, administer the oath of office.
Yes, I'd like to ask Ms. Mona Weezer to go up, and she would be administering the oath of office.
Please respond, I do, and congratulations, Ms. Adelkin and Mr. Vasquez. By the power vested in me as notary public servant for the great state of Texas, I hereby administer the oath to the newly elected Southwest ISD Board of Trustees. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully execute the duties of the office of trustee for the Southwest Independent School District for the state of Texas, and will, to the best of your ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state? And do you furthermore solemnly swear that you have not directly nor indirectly paid, offered, or promised to pay, contributed, nor promised to contribute any money or valuable thing, or promised any public office or employment as a reward for the giving or withholding a vote at the election at which you were elected? So help you God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, consider the election of board officers to serve from May 2025 to May 2026.
Yes.
Dr. Ball?
Yes. I now open the floor for nominations for the office of board president. Take any nominations?
I'll second.
All those in favor, say yay.
Yay.
Yes.
Yay.
Aye. Aye.
And yay too. Anyone opposed? Say nay. No. Then, we have our board president,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Sylvester Vasquez.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll open the floor for the position of vice president.
I nominate Ida Sadolkin.
I second.
Any other nominations? Hearing none. All in favor for Ida Sadolkin for the position of vice president, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same side. Congratulations, Ida. We now open the For not, the floor for nominations for position of secretary.
I nominate James Sullivan.
No. I nominate Florida Bernal.
Oh, my bad. Flo Bernal, excuse me.
Okay, you're nominating Florinda Bernal?
Yes.
Okay. There's a second. Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of, for secretary, Florinda Bernal, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, Flo. I'll now open the floor for nominations for assistant secretary.
I nominate James Sullivan.
I second.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of Jim Sullivan for the position of assistant secretary, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We now have our slate of officers.
Sweet.
Mr. Board President, could we take a small break?
Session, get our food, and then team of 8 training. Let's do it. Is, he here?
Good evening, board members. Thank you for being here tonight for our Team of 8 training. So tonight, we're going to continue a discussion that we have been having. All of you before you have a document that looks like this. I know it's not new to the board, but what we want to do is really spend some time giving you some information. Some people call it a scorecard. Some people call it a dashboard. Whatever you choose to call it, it's really a mechanism and an avenue to keep track of your goals and how we're progressing as a school district. Back in the fall, we talked about strategic priorities and what would be the most important ones to the board and to the superintendent, myself, which has to do with retain, recruit, and develop talent. Number 2, improve academic performance. Number 3, optimize fiscal and operational effectiveness. And number 4, foster a safe and supportive environment. In doing so, I work very closely with our senior staff members, and each senior staff member represents a certain area, which we call the division, and they have a specific strategy that they're in charge of. What we wanted to do is develop a dashboard so we can monitor this and the board could have access to see this on a regular basis, or we could also use our brown bags to report one of these specifically at every brown bag starting in the fall. Thanks to Doty, we were able to develop this in-house and did not have to go outside to do this. So I think you'll like what Doty has developed and how we're presenting this information. But tonight, 2 purposes that we have. A, to share the information with the board, and B, to see if there's any changes that the board would like for us to make. So for our Team of 8, I contacted Region 20, and many of you got to meet Michael in the back, but we discussed how important this was as we develop our team to have very specific priorities and strategies that we do. So when in talking to Michael, he said that this would be a perfect Team of 8 training. So I know Michael would like to say a few words in regards to the way we're doing our Team of 8 training.
Dr. Ball,
Yes.
real quick, can you click on the screen so that Zoom workplace
Sure.
drops down?
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you, Dr. Ball, for the opportunity to address the board. Honored board members, Dr. Ball and I did discuss several options for the Team of 8 training, and reviewing with her the fact that you have set some board goals that are directly related to what's required of the board and the district by TEA standards. This does fall under the requirements for Team of 8 training, and therefore, instead of me standing up here and telling you how to establish those, we're going to review those tonight, and then you can make adjustments to those. And this training will meet the requirement for your Team of 8, and you will receive credit for your Team of 8 that you have to perform each year. And we appreciate the opportunity to be here. If there is anything else that you or Dr. Ball needs from me or Region 20, please feel free to contact us. That's what we're there for. We're there to serve. Thank you very much.
Many of y'all can also notice that Ms. Barsonis is not here. She's attending a funeral. So Dodie is going to be covering the ones for her area. So the first thing that you notice on the screen is the strategies with the goals. And the team has been working on whether they're completed, in progress, or on track. And tonight you'll get to hear about each specific one and how we are doing. And we want this certainly to be interactive, and what I mean by that is for you to feel free to ask us any questions. So unless there's any questions, we are gonna get started. Okay, Dodie, you're first.
Thank you. Good evening, board. So I'll kind of start with introducing the dashboard to you. As you can see, it kind of starts with an overview page, and this is just a snapshot. So you're not going to get a lot of details, but you'll be able to see kind of the status and then what the strategy number is, so you can reference it back. But this dashboard was designed with the ability to dig deeper. Sorry. And so you do not have to reference the sheet in front of you unless you want to, because all of the information that's on that is also over here, and we'll be able to go to those pages and explore that as well. It's important when you look at this that you don't make a generalization. So I just want to point out one goal, for instance, is 4.2. If you look at general, it's showing that we're at 4.5%, I believe, 4.12%, which may look like that's really low, but that's a kind of a reverse goal. Our max is 5%. We want to stay under 5%. So just because it's a smaller bar doesn't mean it's that we're not on track. So we wanted to point out that it's important to notice the wording that goes with it as well, because it kind of guides you as we're going along. So are we gonna, do you want me to just start with mine? Okay.
Specifically, this would have been Ms. Barsonis, and Ms. Barsonis oversees the retain, recruit, and development of talent. So under that area, we have 2 goals. So Dodie will be covering those 2 goals.
The first goal is to increase the participation of employee feedback in the annual employee survey from 79% to 82%. As you can see, if you look toward the bottom, these are all of the strategies that we did in order to accomplish this goal, and you can see that we have completed all of the strategies, including completed the survey, and we're happy to report we have completed and met this goal. We actually exceeded it. We had 88% participation this year. The second strategy for AHR is the superintendent will develop a plan to enhance teacher retention by implementing mentoring programs and building support systems to improve retention rates for educators from 80 to 82%. So as you notice, the graph here is blank, and that is because teachers that have more than, all teachers have until the very beginning of July to resign or to decline their contract. So we can't really tell you that we're there yet or not. But what we can do, if we scroll down and look at our strategies, is because we worked specifically with our new teachers, we can tell you all of our teachers with less than 4 years experience that we have offered to come back, or we have invited to come back next year. 84.6% of them have agreed to come back next year. So we do meet with them regularly, so we were able to survey them and kind of get that information. So we do look like we're on progress and making movement in this goal. We just won't have the final results till July.
So is that, I'm sorry.
You go ahead, Jen.
So is the new teacher orientation that got extended added to that also? Or is this just during the year?
So what we do, so we have a new teacher orientation and we start the mentoring program at that point.
Okay, that's what I was
Yes.
wondering. If
So yes, it is
like
included in
okay.
this.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So now we increase the participation in the survey or the feedback thing. What are we doing with the feedback?
So what we do is a couple of things. Each principal has gotten that back. They're been instructed to bring back a plan. They are to develop their 2 strengths and their 2 weaknesses and a plan as to how they're going to address that. So we do it that way. District-wide, I work with the ESAC, which is Employee Superintendent Advisory Council. we look at the district information, and we also target what were our two weaknesses, and then we develop a plan as to how to address those.
And then when will the board see the feedback?
You mean the data from the survey? We can share it at the May board meeting. Probably, the June brown bag would probably be
Yeah,
better.
that's better. It's just, it's great that we're getting more participation, but if there's problems that we're seeing, you know, systemically, we need to know how we're addressing them.
I
Yeah,
can
by
share
then
that.
will the campuses already have some type of plan for their weaknesses
Yeah.
and their strengths?
Yes, they have to bring it to me, for their evaluations, which start June the 16th.
Can we see some of that?
Of course.
AHR also has one strategy under the financial section, which is section 3. And because this has to do with attendance, and so attendance does directly impact our finances, but it lives under AHR because it is a pupil service. So I can show you that our goal was to increase student attendance from 91.8% to 92.8%. Now, this is a goal that we can measure with checkpoints because we do not take all 174 days, average them together, and send that to TEA. Rather, TEA chunks it into 6 weeks chunks. So we've already got 6 weeks 1 done, ready to send it to TEA. 6 weeks 2, and then TEA will take all 6 of those and average them together. So through 5-6 weeks, we were at 91.9. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. That was last year.
92. You're right.
Yes, 91.9.
That was last year's.
Yes. So as you can see, the green line represents this year and the blue represents last year. And so because we were tracking it, we know that we started above where we were the previous year, and we were able to maintain that until January. In January, we noticed a drop in attendance of certain populations based on some executive orders and different things that were going on in the community, in the state, and the nation. And so what we spent the next 6 weeks do was trying to build relationships and recover from that. So we are back above where we are, but we just don't know how much that one dip is going to hurt us yet. So that's where we stand right now.
Jody, would you also take a minute to talk about the 2 upcoming waivers that will be coming up in the May board meeting?
Absolutely. So TEA does allow us, if a campus or district has an attendance percentage that is 10 percentage points or more lower than the previous year, and it qualifies under one of their acceptable reasons, they will let you apply for a waiver so that day's attendance does not include in your overall attendance. So Resnick qualified for one in September due to safety. There had been some swatting threats made. Parents kept children home out of fear of safety, and that is one that the state does allow us to apply for a waiver for. So we will be applying for that one. And then in January, we had a very cold day with ice, but we were able to hold schools, but some families did not feel safe attending regardless, and specifically Indian Creek. So that campus did qualify for a waiver on that cold weather day, and we will be applying for a waiver for that as well.
So I would like to mention that in reality, both of these goals are new, and anybody from my senior staff can chime in. Both of these goals are new in the sense that the district did not do the TASB survey before, so we started that 2 years ago. And there was not a new teacher academy that we started 2 years also. We started with 10 days, paying the teachers, which most of the teachers have said phenomenal things in regards to that. All of you have attended them and seen how interactive they are. We cover, in the new teacher orientation, we cover everything from curriculum, getting your laptop, discipline, special ed, bilingual. I know that Dodie does a piece on attendance, so a variety of things that we like to do in in July. So when they start, and they start at their campus, they already have everything that they need. Would anybody like to share anything about?
Well,
the
I
new
would talk,
teacher?
oh, sorry.
And then we can do attendance in
Okay,
just a
I'll just-
second. Anything about new teacher?
I think the feedback on the mentors, so we did have consultants working with our new teachers, and so we also got feedback periodically. And so from that feedback, we would also have conversations with the principals, but overall, the new teachers having their own mentor to go to and get answers and take them through the processes has really benefited the work of the new teachers.
Because everybody in the state of Texas is experiencing the teacher shortage. We have a lot of DOI teachers, but not just Southwest, everybody does. So we wanna continue to enhance what we do to support new teachers. So then we can talk about attendance.
Well, we just wanted to point out that, I mean, this trend data, if you go back in history and look at our trend data, we see the same patterns. Like at the beginning of the year, you know, all the kids are here. First 6 weeks, everybody's coming to school, and then you start getting closer to Christmas, after Christmas. There's some other things that were in play here. We always see a drop, and then it kind of builds back up. And then at the end of the year, you know, after start test, you start to see a little bit of a decline as well. So this is not a pattern that we're not used to, even going back before COVID. The one thing I wanted to point out, that we are seeing a percentage increase, which is really good. We're getting closer and we're building it. But we're also seeing high enrollment, so that ADA number is a lot higher. So we are actually receiving a lot more revenue. And part of the strategy and budget that's going into next year is with y'all approving changing the ratios in the classrooms for staffing. We're seeing that increase in revenue because the influctuation of the students and a higher ADA percentage number. Normally in the past, we would be adding a lot of additional staff with that, but we're able to maintain good class sizes, but not adding a bunch of staff. So that's part of the strategy we use to, using ADA, using attendance on our revenue side, to try to help meet our goal that I'll talk about later when we get into the revenue and the expenditure piece in next year's budget.
And I did want to point out the main page does have the enrollment number for today. So talking about that higher enrollment, you can see that we're at 14,880 students.
Do we have any one of our campuses going over and beyond right now? or-
Attendance?
Yeah, attendance.
Don't you have the chart that shows all the campuses?
The campuses, I do.
Yeah, you can see it.
I know that, in working with Ms. Garza, she mentions that there are some that are making some very significant gains. So you can see some of these right there.
Correct. And same thing, trend data, we usually see higher numbers in elementary. And our secondary students, you know, they're bigger schools, so like our high schools and middle schools, sometimes you see a lower percentage. And then also, you can kind of look at the areas, and based on our demographics and of our students and our neighborhoods, there's a trend there where we see a little bit lower attendance as well.
So you can see 13 of our 18 campuses are at or above our goal currently, at the end of the 6 weeks.
Good to see. Am I in your way?
But legacy
No,
was
you're
one of the
good.
big hitters
Trying to read
last year,
them.
now.
Schools at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
So you want me to read them to you? Okay.
Hey, Dodie,
Sun
Sun
Valley.
The Valley.
big country.
It's Sun Valley, Big Country,
Creek.
Elm Creek,
Elm Creek.
Southwest Elementary, Cast, Scobie, Sky Harbor, McNair, Freewall, Indian Creek, McCullough.
No, Media Creek.
Oh, Media Creek, sorry. Bob Hope.
Here you go.
Hidden Gold, man, my eyes are going down. Southwest High
Look that way
School,
to them.
Resnick, Spicewood, McCullough, and Southwest Legacy. I can go get my driver's license now, I passed.
Close one eye, you go
And is that on
Freewall?
attendance?
Yes.
This is
Freewall's
attendance.
about 93.5%. It's like right in the middle. She's on it right now in there. If you look at that, she's got the arrow on it.
Oh,
That's Freewald.
Wow,
There you go.
Sun Valley's doing really well.
So Sun Valley started their own tutoring early, and they started doing some really good, community work, as soon as October, speaking to the parents, and they started targeting attendance. So the parents that had high absentees, then they were called in to come in for like a parent seminar, and the parents really, accepted the information, they learned through it. So it's been even like reading, how do you read, so they're taking in work to like a parent seminar, and that's where she's been able to also tell the parents like, you know, since your students are missing out, it's also, you as a parent, you need to bring them.
Are we
It's not
copying
punishment,
that?
But it's more like an awareness.
are we copying that?
So they inform
So,
them.
Ms. Lara has shared her strategy with the rest of the elementaries, and so that has been shared
Yeah. So it's, I mean, I know my daughter-in-law will not send me to school if it's not 24 hours without a fever. I tell her something, but she'll.
So the health
But-
services is in AHR, and I can tell you that that is something that we have brought, we are discussing in our division on, you know, where the rules come, you know, where was their origin of this rule?
Right.
Is there a state or a medical policy we have to follow, or is there something else? So we are looking into it, not just for that, it actually came up because of excused and unexcused, as well. So we are looking into that already, and so hopefully when we start next year, we'll have, better clarification on exactly where that came from, and if anything can be changed, we can make the adjustments.
I'm gonna ask my friend Google.
I would assume it comes from some medical, like,
I know other districts have the same rule.
I know, but you know, sometimes rules are just.
well,
Sure.
only from experience, when we went through COVID, we were getting all the information from our health center in San Antonio.
In San Antonio, the Bexar
To tell
County.
us, you know, how long you gotta be out for COVID, and like, they were giving us the rules.
No, I know
Yeah.
COVID, but this has been a rule forever, and I'm just, I mean, little ones, they may have a fever for 5 hours and they're fine.
And then it might not even be a full-fledged fever, how about if it's just a little tiny bit and then you have to stay out? We're looking at that, and also, we allow a lot of notes, parent notes to be excused. So I know that I've asked the team to look and see how many notes do other districts? Because if we allow 10 just by a parent writing a note and we excuse them, we're only hurting ourselves.
Yeah, but on the other side, if you have a kid who has a fever at noon, and then they don't have a fever at 5, they're not gonna take them to the doctor. I mean, that's a waste of money for the community.
And even if you try to take them to the
And then if they can't
doctor.
just write a note,
Yeah.
then we have to balance it, I think. I understand, like, you know, little Johnny didn't feel good yesterday, blah, blah, but we don't run to the doctor every time our kid's sick. Some
You just
people
give them Tylenol, because half the time you call and you can't even get an appointment the next day. You can't get an appointment until 2 or 3 days later. A lot of times, it's not immediate.
So you take them to the med clinic.
But we will definitely be looking at that and seeing.
Yeah, but not all insurances work that way for you to take them to a med clinic.
And seeing which policies and procedures we've had, because we've just had them for a long time.
Or if
Which
it's like
ones-
a rule, then, you
Right,
know, we can
which
do
ones
it.
by law we have to have, and so we'll be updating that. Mary Lou Hernandez is the one that is gonna be working on a student parent handbook this year. And I know that she's already gotten the copy from TASB, and I think from Walsh, so she'll be using those as a guide.
And then I think the rule is, say somebody has a dentist appointment at 10 o'clock, right? So the cutoff is what, 10 something?
About
But
10.
if you take them to school in the morning, this is what I heard, I don't know if it's true. But if I take them to school in the morning and don't check them out until 9:30, and then I bring him back to school, then he's not considered an unexcused absence. Or he's
If they
counted.
have an appointment and bring a note back and do not miss a subsequent day. So if they can be there from 8 to 9 and leave, and they don't have to come back because they were present at some point during the day and they brought a note. If they return to school the next day, then that absence does not count against us. We call it an exemption. If they end up taking 2 days off, well, then that nullifies the note, because then we don't know for sure if they were sick or not. If the doctor says can't return to school for 2 days, then that would nullify and we would not be able to give it to them. But we have really been trying to educate our campuses on that rule, because we know we can recover a lot. And again, what Ms. Lotta is doing at Sun Valley, I know that's one of the things she talked to the parents about, because they felt like, well, if they're gonna be marked absent anyway, I'm not going to bring them. But now that they understand that they can use that doctor's appointment or dentist appointment and still get credit, then they've started attending more.
And some campuses are better at ensuring that they get credited, because then there's others that you'll say, well, I brought them back and you still counted them absent, and they still don't change it or don't fix it, you know. So that's something that we have to deal with and we're dealing with all the time.
Yeah, I know at the high school, we had to fight a lot of times with the teachers who just would not listen to the emails from the coaches when students were gonna be gone. All three of mine, when there was a handful that we'd have to fight. They didn't care if they were sports and gone. If they were gone, they marked them absent. They would take all year to fight to get those changed or not changed.
Well, I know that we've tried, I mean, certainly not perfect, but I know that Ms. Garza has done 4 or 5 discussions about educating parents. I know that we've talked to the PEMS folks about the importance of changing it, because we've noticed some of the things we've heard ourselves. Just like at the very beginning, I don't know if y'all recall, we had over 80 teachers, I'm talking about the very beginning, that weren't taking attendance. So that, we had to really get strict on that. So we're definitely making attendance a priority, so we're.
And then the school sending the notes home, that's crucial. Because when you get a note from the high school saying that your kid has been absent for 4 days in a row, well, then it was a trip they went on with the school, but they didn't put the right, student ID number or whatever, but those notes really help.
They help the parent to be able to
Yes,
know
to
what's
fix
going
it
on.
right away.
And we have, Ms. Garza and I have worked together to improve that process as
Yeah.
well.
I mean,
And
that
I-
is working. the
And I
notes
wanna
are-
bring up the fact that we talked about how substitutes, the teachers don't leave their computers. And I know that y'all were saying, yeah, it happens. Well, I talked to a few substitutes after that. And the substitutes say, no, they don't. They do not leave their computers most of the time. So we cannot even do the attendance.
We'll look into that.
Yeah.
Jody, I know you work with that, so you can help me with that.
Absolutely.
Jody, could you also maybe talk about, the update that you're doing that we talked about at senior staff, that some individuals might be receiving an email or a phone call that says, okay, we need your shot record, even if the child's been in here since kindergarten? So you could talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So as I'm learning this role, all of you know, I started in curriculum and instruction, and I moved over into this. I learn a little bit more. So if we look back about 2017, 2018, or even 2019, majority of our records were paper and kept in a folder. And at the end of the year, if they were moving from, say, 5th to 6th grade, there was a process for getting those files transferred to the next campus. And then in 2019, I take that back. Then that was, say, 2015. And about 2015, we bought one software where we were trying to go electronic. It did not work as we had planned for it to work. And so some of the records got digitized, but not all. And so that created some real inconsistencies in moving the files from place to place. So then in 2020, we did get another software that was going to let us put all that together. We can do it all in Frontline now. But as we also know, 2019-20 was also our COVID year, so we're behind on that. So right now, we're in the process of really getting in. Every campus has a list of which students' files are complete, which ones are incomplete. Our high schools are a big priority because we need to make sure those, especially our seniors and our juniors, are complete so they're ready for graduation. So the campuses, the reason it's happening so late is because they've been working all year. They've been looking for the paper folders. They've been going through DocuWare, and we're trying to find those records. We know they're somewhere, and then we just have a few that we haven't found yet, and so we are reaching out to the families and asking them to provide us additional copies.
So you might get a phone call from a community member that asks you, why are they asking for this now? So we wanted you to be aware of that.
Thank you.
I really want to commend Dodi. This is not easy, putting together this dashboard. She has been instrumental, the backbone of doing this. And I think it looks really nice. I mean, you've only seen a little bit. We still have a lot more to show you, but I don't want to continue without thanking Dodi for putting all of this together.
Great job, Dodi.
Thank you.
So the next,
Mackenzie said she's been helping you a lot. Me too, I was over there helping her.
okay, everybody helped.
Winston too, Winston.
So now comes another very important area. So it's strategic priority 2 to improve our academic performance. I have seen in the short time that, you can go ahead, Anita, that the gains that we are making and what I have seen, everything from purchasing curriculum that we needed for phonics and the rigor that we're doing, and we are getting better and better at making sure that things are happening consistently and fairly at all the campuses. And at first, I'll be the first one to share that, I wanted to give principals a lot of autonomy. But that autonomy sometimes doesn't work out. So really having to look at what are the best practices and making sure that all the campuses are doing those best practices. And Dalila helps me lead all that. So she has 3 goals under this area that she will be talking about.
Thank you, Dr. Ball. And so you will see here that it has been also goals that have been scored in 2024 to 74% this year, and meets would be 41% to 46%. And so along the way has been some strategic moves that were also based on TEA. When TEA doesn't let us move for certain reasons, like the curriculum has to be approved, there's certain things that we are not allowed to do until we get TA approval. But along the way, you'll see that from October on forward, all the way till April, I mean, it's been like nonstop of work that has been going on. This year, we did create some new assessments called checkpoints. They did become a big headache for a lot of people. So it was a lot more data, and so it became more, just the data was not coming in every 9 weeks. This data was coming in maybe every 3 weeks. But when you have a good data coming in, along with the data, you have to be analyzing. It's not just throwing out there numbers, it's what is the campus is doing. And so I think the summer committee got a little taste of what that looks like, that whenever data comes out, then what do you do with that data? And so here we've been able to work with our principals. This year has been a focus that whatever data comes in, we want to make sure that from ECRs to writable information to the checkpoints in October, all those instruments that we introduced in October, we wanted to make sure that that's still early enough that if the work gets implemented with what we call with fidelity, and then across all the campuses, then we should see some good trajectory moving along. So here as we are, just here recently, we did purchase the phonics. We started with just kinder to third grade, which we purchased in December. And then we came and we had some really good feedback from the kinder to third grade teachers. Fourth grade teachers loved it, but they were hearing from the earlier grades, so then we purchased fourth grade. But then we had enough more money, and we came back and we purchased fifth grade. So now we could say that when it comes to the phonics portion from K through fifth grade, we have a robust program. And so now, again, it's just implementing it, good rollout, good implementation with fidelity, and everybody just, pretty much following through with the work with fidelity. So our goal, like we mentioned here, is we have our benchmarks coming along. And so our data, we should be able to come back and report to you our 74% or 46%. By June the 4th, we're going to be getting just some black and white data. We still have to come back and scale it out and make it more understandable, break it down by campuses. So by June the 4th, that's the data we're looking at in order for us to share with you the end of the year. What does the end of the year look like? And so some of the data that we did share, some other work that we did along with this is we created middle of the year reviews with our principals. So this way we're not waiting till the end of the year evaluation to talk about the data. We do start at the beginning of the year with something that's called accountability stories. So the principals have seen the power of them understanding accountability, and then they've asked also in secondary, every department has to do their accountability. And so in the elementaries and then even in the high school, they're asking every teacher to then talk about, this is your data, what are you looking at, what is your data analysis, and then what does the work look like with all that data. So that's what we can speak to when it comes to reading.
Real quick.
Yes.
So with all of the, I don't know if we still call them benchmarks or
Yes,
maps, all that stuff. Do you think we're on, we're on track to hit the 74%?
So for math, it's still, back in December, we were still, what we could say, not all of the assessments, so we would look at here, that was a benchmark in February, I believe. In February, this is where we landed. We were at 29% and 27%. And so when we're looking at that data, we came back and analyzed the December data didn't look like that, but the February data did look like that, and for many reasons. The one big reason that we heard is the test is covering 100% of the TEKS. We still have not covered 100% of the TEKS. Because by then, academies and the reteaching and all of the work that happens in the springtime, this is very early in February. So for math, nationwide math is the area that we're trending not so fast. And so in math is the area that we're concerned because then it goes back to fidelity, especially in the elementary where they've had Eureka. Then we hear the principals, we really paid a lot of attention to math this year in order for us to train them. So maybe it's in math where we're concerned. In reading, we feel like we're really good. A little bit. The 74 and the 46. Yes, so in
Writable is an expensive software. We're asking the teachers, did you use it? Did you implement it? Because we could be spending almost $200,000, but are they really using it? So those are the one new change that we did for reading, other than the 91% funds.
What did they say when you asked them?
The teachers love it.
So they are.
They are using it. So that's one area that we're like, oh, maybe they did it and we could cut that off, right? But no, I mean, the teachers like it. The reason they like it is that the students are able to respond to an essay, and they don't have to do it traditionally. They had to read, edit, score the papers. And what we were finding is that you would score it a 1, you would score it a 2, you would score it a 3, so they were not calibrated. So one teacher that had more experience, well, she knew what she was doing, but then the more, less veteran teacher, she had struggled. And if you're wanting to do like a return of data, that was a lot of writing of the students. The students can do the writing, but it's the teachers taking the time, especially at secondary, when there's like more than 100 kids per teacher. So now with Writable, the teachers love it because Writable gives feedback, immediate feedback. You type it in, and it's AI. AI will come and score it along with the state calibration. So it's calibrated with the state. So that's why the teachers love it.
Dalila, will you also mention a little bit in regards to what you're doing this summer for the curriculum writing part of it to help have teachers prepared and to also improve in our
Yes.
academics?
So the summer committee met Cassidy, who is a new ELAR third to fifth grade specialist. So internally, this is through our teaching and learning, Bonnie Robinson being our director. This has been like an ongoing work. So we've had Wonders for almost 8 years. Wonders is already out. We're getting ready to adopt a new program. This is coming from the state, right, a new curriculum. So what we did here is like instead of tweaking everything, we're gonna just edit some pieces. So internally, elementary work is gonna get done internally. Now for secondary, it's like we've got a lot of things to build for secondary. So for secondary, we're gonna be doing the summer of curriculum writing. So you're gonna, what I stipend has already been approved. So we're gonna bring in 8 people for English language arts, and we're gonna bring in teachers from each grade level. We're also gonna do some curriculum writing for TSI, which is a college readiness part. So we're gonna have a total of, for like 12 teachers doing curriculum writing this summer.
Another thing in talking to Bonnie that she said was very important to her that she used to have many years ago, I don't know when it changed, but she used to have a position that focused just on the early literacy component. And we're gonna go back to that because we're gonna go back to having that position. We had somebody from the community ed department that left, so we're trying to be very conscious, which you'll hear in a minute about the budget. So instead of filling that position, we're gonna move that FTE there. So Dalila, do you wanna speak a little bit about that?
And I think the state acknowledges that because the state, we presented to you on the House Bill 3. And House Bill 3 is just K through third. So we have to really emphasize that the work that's happening in kinder, first and second, and third is just your outcome. But the work that happens between kinder to second is very different, which those of you in the support committee, if those teachers are not like doing their part consistently, then we're gonna suffer third, fourth, and fifth. All third, fourth, and fifth is now comprehension, reading fluency, or all the teaching of the reading happen in the early grades. So collectively here in our district is like, now that we have 95% funding, we're training the teachers, there should be no reason that we're still getting the 50% first graders still not reading by the time they leave. And so that's like our sad reality that we need to then position and, put somebody there that is monitoring the work that is happening in K through second grade. So in K through second grade, each grade level has around 50 force teachers. So you're talking about maybe over 150 teachers, 200 that we have to support just K through third grade. So us having a position for that person in itself versus a K through 5 person supporting all K through 5, you're talking about over 500 teachers at the end of the day. So we appreciate that support. So the next one is for math. So for math is the area where nationwide, we've seen statewide, and I think the state understood the need for that. Here, we were able to get LASSO 2 grants, and we brought that to the board last year. So all that work of LASSO 2 happened this year. LASSO 3 was accepted and approved by TA, so we got more money, over $200,000. So we've been doing a lot of training with the teachers, with the teacher leaders, and also with the principals in order for them to really understand what math should look like. So what we're talking about is the productive struggle. It's okay for kids to struggle with the math,
but we're not gonna have the teachers do the lesson planning, but they're gonna have to just do the internalization. So you're gonna hear a little bit that our curriculum, we're gonna have to pay for the curriculum. And so there's like a little, that's the caveat that the state doesn't even give us too much wiggle room, because if we buy the curriculum that the state wants, then we get additional funding. So you see how like, yeah, there's other vendors that we could have selected, or the teachers might, because right now in the survey, the teachers are saying, CNI didn't give us much to say. Well, we didn't get much to say also, because the state is only telling you it's either this one or this one. And if we buy Blue Bonnet, they're saying that they're gonna give us $40 more if we want the materials printed. So then it kind of gives you like, just, you're trapped pretty much into making that decision. Along with that, with LASSO 2 and LASSO 3, we learned our lesson. Of course, it was during COVID time. We purchased Eureka. It's a great math program, and it's not like the way we learned. I would say the traditional math way of like 1 + 1, you do one little bubble, another little bubble, and that equals 2. There's a science behind it. Just the way there's a science behind teaching reading, there's a whole science behind teaching math. And so the teachers have had to adjust with that. Well, how can they adjust? It's by also being part of good training, and that good training has costed some money. And now with this LASSO 2 and LASSO 3, we've been able to train not only the teachers, but also the principals. So the essential part here is that we need for our principals to become instructional leaders. It's not just the teacher in the classroom. It's gonna have to be the principal leading all that work. So whenever we're telling the principal, this teacher is doing X, Y, Z, that principal has to understand to carry those conversations. Now, we might leave, but then the principal has to carry on with that work. And we could see in our data, the principals that are, that have taken, just that responsibility, like Dr. Ball was saying, we started with autonomy. I mean, we've been in that state. Autonomy, we want to trust our principals, we love them, we definitely do. But then you could see where there are some pockets that when we give them that autonomy, then, well, the teachers are getting tired, and that's what we hear. And the teachers don't want to. And so, and then we've got the great teachers that they might not even have to look at the curriculum, but they already have success. So here, the fact that we've had so many new teachers, we do have a curriculum that is pretty much verbatim. It tells you, if you look at page 3, tell the students to turn to page 3. Nobody had to invent that. Like, this is coming from experts, in the math. And it even tells you, draw on the board whatever you need to draw. And so over the last years, I would say in the last over 3 years, we've had over 100 and some new teachers, almost every last 3 years. So all the training that we did after COVID, guess what? We had to do it all over again. And even when we thought we're done, we're not, because in the next year we have another 100 new teachers. So we've had to keep that in mind, that our curriculum has to be very user-friendly of where they can find it, what they can do, and then go back into the planning. Now the planning, and that's been something that it's hard, because the teachers have to grade papers. We understand it. The work of a teacher it's beyond the clock hours that they even work here. It is. So with that, I think the state has been really mindful that now we are purchasing what's called HQIM, highly qualified instructional materials. But that list is coming from the state. So we really don't have much room to say, which vendor we want. It's vendor that already the state has approved. So for math, we've also done what we look at through Eureka. Eureka has very specific unit checkpoints that we didn't even have to reinvent anything. We just got that for our content team. They went ahead and got the unit checkpoints, and that's what we told the teachers. This is what you're gonna go ahead, you're gonna teach, and you're gonna test and grab data, and then analyze it to know what you're gonna have to reteach, and then just pretty much make some tweaks in your teaching. So for math, you'll see here, we're in progress.
Where we were. I didn't want to say the math part that we got to see the curriculum committee. Like you were saying, it was very different, but I did think, especially for those kids, the part where it's more of like they're building the word problems already and learning, and it wasn't just simple numbers. It was getting up to here, then this and that, but the working already at word problems and different, and still use my fingers counting. So it was definitely the if that is going across the whole district of every third grade teacher is doing the same thing, then definitely the numbers that we're looking at, or we've been wanting, that's what we were talking about fidelity of, or just being in unison of everybody being able to do that, is making sure we get all the teachers to do that. So.
And so with LASO three, the unison part is gonna go all the way now, all the way to Algebra 1 to the high school. So the way they were taught, you know, just the different aspects of math, that same vocabulary is gonna be carried over to middle school next year. And so we're hearing it from the teachers, why are you changing it? But we're also looking at that same thing, that we've got some good successes in 5th grade math. And you'll see your meets and masters is much higher in elementary. Then you go to the middle schools and it's like there's a, something is missing. So we are purchasing a more highly qualified instructional material. With LASO 3, we have the money to do that with. And so now we're gonna train the teachers over the summer. Over the summer, there's gonna be a lot of training going on for math. And so that's pretty much like our data shows that we're in progress to see some growth. Our math data indicates that as well. And so as I'm speaking to the data, is that we've got checkpoints, we did do a benchmark in February, and so the curriculum has its own data that they can, own assessments. So when it comes to assessments and checking points, there's plenty of opportunity for us to do that.
And I think one of the things that's really important, we've been listening to the teachers about the assessments. But what's done with those assessments and changing instruction, and that's something that Dalila talked about yesterday with the ESAC in regards to now the campuses has to use that information to monitor the students, whether it's small group, after school, many campuses did Saturday, but making sure what they need from the data that they get from the assessments.
What do we think about, cause what the House approved about the
On
three?
Billboard?
No, about
Getting
3
rid-
tests
getting rid of the
Yeah,
star.
so it's
instead
not-
of the star.
Right.
How do we feel, like, is
So-
that gonna be hard for us to, well, we're already started doing it, right?
Yeah, we're
with the
doing
math.
like, yeah, so, yes, exactly, ma'am. So right now where the state is not having, to me, I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because the more data you get, the more changes and the more tweaks you can make to any work. So here is just like, we already have, if you look at our assessment calendar, that was like a lot of heartache, because the teachers are not used to. Kinder was not used to testing the kids, but we gotta know what they're doing too.
Right.
So MAP is very similar to it, beginning, middle, end of the year.
So we're already.
Yeah, we're already doing it,
set.
and it almost confirms the work that we've been trying to put in
Right.
place, where although the teachers don't like it, and why? Because then it becomes transparent.
Right.
So the
So you know so much quicker.
Yes.
That they're not
Yes.
getting it.
Mhm. And so,
So it has to pass the House again and then the Senate in order for
I
it
think
to
today was
actually.
a second vote, and then it goes to the Senate.
We'll see. We talked about this in an art I was at too.
Yes.
I will be talking about this House and Senate here in a minute.
So that's the piece of the work with math. Now with math, we did lose our secondary math content team, and we already hired someone. So that person will be coming in July the 1st, and we already have the work ready for them to start. The next piece was, our D's and F campuses, just them having move up a letter grade. And this has been, conversations where we have come to the conclusion that autonomy, there's no way they can have autonomy in the D and F campuses. We're looking at some pivot points of how we monitor them. We do have our ED of elementary, ED of middle school, ED of high school. They do a great job by staying on them. But now what we're trying to look at, when do you plan? How often do you plan? And so just pretty much reeling them back in, and the DNF campuses are not gonna be able to dictate much of the work that they do. So for example, we have seen those, some good growth. So the first one, I think, what do we have? La Hen Cove, I think Hen Cove in yellow. It's-
yes.
Oh, yeah. So as Hen Cove, we made a strategic change to leadership. And like I mentioned to you, leadership is super important. So there with that leadership, we're seeing the tremendous growth already at 69, and this is by looking at our MAP scores. We do have some concerns with Bob Hope. Now, Bob Hope has had some leadership changes for the last 3 years. They've had 3 different principals for the last 3 years. So
Where are
I-
you seeing?
I'm sorry, the red one, 45.
That's Bob Hope?
Bob Hope, yes.
Oh,
the
The
red one.
campuses are colored by their campus colors except for Hidden Cove, they are yellow. So we have Bob Hope, Hidden Cove, McCullough,
legend is right at the
Scobie,
top.
and Resnick.
point to the little legend, go to the little legend.
I see
Right,
that.
right. And so this is what their benchmark scores are. This is their growth measure that they show in the map.
Line 3, the bi-monthly meeting with the principal, who is that? Is that?
Oh, this is the ones that we have here internally, and so we meet,
That's not me, who is it? Is it y'all meeting with the principal or?
so it's Dr. Ball meets
or-
with the principals.
Okay.
It should be monthly, but that's, we have a monthly meeting, with the principals, and then bi-monthly, we go into the campuses, more than once a week, more than once a month. It's twice a week.
So Bob Hope has 44% growth? No.
Yes, that's what it's, indicating.
And then you see there's two lines here. The top line is the target for an elementary campus, and the bottom line is the target for a middle school campus.
Did it move at all, Bob Hope, from when, at the beginning,
The
where it
beginning of the
was?
Well, 44%.
Right, so that's not a percentage, it's 44 points.
Mm.
And so when it comes to growth, you start at 0, and then, so you figure every kid's supposed to move 1 year. Growth is, this kid's on track to move a year plus a month, a year plus, 3 months, something like that. I don't know the exact formula. Dalila and Lisa are the experts in that, but that's what the 44 points shows, is that we've already earned 44 growth points if we keep our trajectory where it is.
So what is the 45%?
That is a test score. I don't know which test score was that.
It is the
benchmark?
average, so this is what we call dirty data, because you know the A through F accountability is a very complicated formula. So when we're looking at it this way, we're just trying to say, this is where we were, are we growing? And so, we have taken all of the benchmarks that they've scored that they've completed this year for all of the grade levels that impact their letter grade and averaged that together.
So this is last year 45% or this year 45%?
That is this year's 45%.
With all the cumulative tests, from benchmarks to checkpoints, all the
What were
tests.
they
to-
last year?
Have they grown?
I can add that to this. That can be one of the changes we make where I add that.
It's because it doesn't show it right now.
Yes.
Off the top of my head, I don't think we can tell you, so we'll have to add that, a graph that compares from.
And is 44 a good growth number?
So the goal by now should have been that they should have hit that yellow.
Okay.
So if they're not hitting the yellow, that means that they're not gonna be,
Moving a letter grade.
I'm sorry?
Moving a
Yeah,
letter grade.
They won't be moving a
So
letter grade.
Hidden Cove might move a letter grade?
They will.
That
And is-
goes
That indicates
from a
that they
what?
will.
What were they?
Oh, they were in there? Not-
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're gonna be. a
And is there any resistance in the 45% in the leadership there? I mean, what's the problem?
They're not, the principal's not resisting, it's just a huge gap to close in 1 year.
But she's gonna go up a whole letter grade, we think.
So
We're talking about two different things, I think, right?
Okay.
Because I thought y'all were talking about is Bob Hope resistant?
I asked about Bob Hope.
Okay,
No.
and you,
I'm talking, I just noticed that the yellow is the only one if it's a,
I know that Hidden
Beyond
Cove
the
has
goal.
made
Yeah.
some great strides, cause I,
great strides.
yeah.
okay.
I'm thinking like they might jump 2 letter grades at Hinco with the work that we're seeing there.
And what was Bob Hope last year? Well,
You know
we
what
don't
you
even
mean.
know what they were last, or we
Right.
do,
Or
it's just not
projected.
official.
They were
What
there.
did they were projected
Or
in
what
what?
if?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so they're still gonna be in it.
It's here, so I know you can't see it from where you're sitting, but it
Oh.
says campus Bob Hope, and then the letter in parentheses is what their predicted was. So of the
Okay,
5
then maybe-
campuses here, Resnick was the only F, the other 4 were Ds,
Okay.
predicted as Ds.
For
It's for
2024?
this year.
This was what they're
They're
predicted for this past year, yes.
So is it the campus itself, the students, and
With Bob Hope?
with Bob Hope?
These are last.
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
A little bit of both.
Uh,
So we're talking
we-
last year, none at all this year. This is
Right,
last
right,
year
this
that
is
we're
all
looking at.
last year's,
Okay.
yes.
And then this is this year's growth.
The growth, yes, that is current
Okay.
data.
So according to this growth, only the yellow school of the elementaries is gonna go up. The red is gonna stay the same.
Well, we have,
We
you know,
still
one
have-
Scobie that's pretty close.
No, I'm saying the elementary.
Oh,
Oh,
So the first 3 are elementary. Dalila,
and there's McCullough there
I
too.
don't, when Lisa was explaining it to me, she talked about If you get above the line on both, you're absolutely going to improve a letter, possibly two. If you get above the line and at least one, that, depending on how close you were last year, you can. And so we know Scobie was just under the line of being a C campus last year. I know you're talking about elementaries right now, but even though Scobie's only met one of the lines, they're definitely going to be one that improves.
So Scobie did meet a line.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
But
They
it
did.
looks to me like.
And these are all our DNF campuses, we said, right?
Only DNF.
Okay.
What about
And then
Resnick?
Resnick,
Resnick is on there in purple.
and we think they're gonna go to a D?
No, plus.
There's other factors that aren't on here that can impact that as well, so.
Yeah,
It's
so
gonna be close.
domain
It's gonna be
two,
close.
for the DNF campuses, domain two is all about growth. So we look at growth, they're very close to hitting that target, which is that first yellow, of them being able to jump a letter grade. What I'm looking at for yellow, Hidden Cove yellow column, they are feeling like they're gonna be jumping 2 letter grades. By looking at their data from, all collective.
So Hidden Cove last year was
And
projected to be a D.
ID.
And so you're thinking they may go to a B.
I think, it's pretty close.
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be close.
It's gonna be.
and this is all based on
Well, as long as
star,
they go up.
right?
Their math.
At the end, it's based on STAR.
So
But
for
what our
those,
projections are the map data that we have and the benchmarks that we use.
So what is the projection right now for Bob Hope? It's not gonna make it?
Looking, if you look at it right
Yeah.
there, no.
They're gonna go down.
There's no,
They're
I'm
gonna
just,
stay the same.
I'm just wondering if they
Stay
have,
at D?
no, they don't have that much time left, right?
No, they
Yeah.
already took it.
Yeah,
They already took it.
They will stay a D.
yeah, that's it,
Well, we don't know the results.
right.
Right.
Well, the numbers aren't out yet?
No, not till end of May. By June, we should have it. They haven't,
Is it gonna be released, did they say, or it's not?
they have
Not
not.
the ratings, but
We'll
we're
get,
gonna
we'll get that and we'll
Well-
be able to do our what ifs and then we'll see what the state decides to do.
Do we have any schools that we think are gonna go down?
Yes, I would say yes. I'm worried about Medio Creek, so.
Crewo.
Queen Crewo.
Was Medio Creek left like that, or it's gone down from what it was left when the new leadership took over?
I'm concerned right now with some of the things that have happened this year.
Okay.
Both going down.
So that's our
It's so
DNF.
difficult to predict all this stuff.
So this is why, like, for all these 2.1 and 2.2 and 2.3, I put there in progress, cause there's like a lot of work to speak to, and there's like a lot of numbers and data and percentages, and when you're looking at map, it says this, you look at benchmark, it says this, and so at the end is, can we go back and see how is the work happening? So when you walk into campuses, like the one that,
That we went to.
Economic committee visited, you could, like I mentioned, you could see the work. So there, the growth, I mean, they were a B because of their growth, and that campus was an F.
Mhm.
So when you have all the right pieces and like a puzzle, if everything is just
They just
working
kinda had all the
together.
right people that came together and
Right.
fixed it.
And so that's what Dr. Ball is speaking to, that we do have some leadership challenges that is impacting the student success.
And we'll be bringing that information in closed session, at the June board meeting.
We're not
and-
gonna do that thing where we predict and everybody knows that we made an F and all that, right? Remember last time?
No, I'm sorry, I meant, in regards to any possible, changes that we need to make. So thank you, Delila, for this information, thank you. So another one that's also been very important, just curriculum is very important, but also looking at our finances, waiting to see what the state does. And I know that Brandon had some information that, he got just today. So one of his goals, which of course, we're not gonna do the attendance because we already did that, number one. We're going to do number two, having to do with the budget, and since the very beginning, the board asked us to try to save $4 million from our budget deficit. So he's gonna share some of the things that we've done to be very fiscally responsible. Again, wanna share that we do have a healthy fund balance, but it's not a fund balance that we wanna go into, every year. So what Brandon is passing out right now is some of the budget savings that we've been working on, and then also some of the news items that most likely are gonna be passed out of the legislative session.
So, can I say something about the actual tool that we're showing us at first? Because I was able to see our neighbors, an example of what they did as far as strategic goals and board goals with how they track that as the year goes on. So this would be an example, scroll down real quick, Zoe. The goal would be is that as we create goals, most of that probably would be going away for a regular board meeting. So at each board meeting or in closed session with Dr. Bo or whoever, we would just kind of give you where we're at. Go back up. Right now, we're just showing you right now, as we're building this as a tool. So going into next year's budget, obviously, we still have a lot of work to do for the budget because it goes all the way to August. But this just shows you, okay, we started a goal, as the year goes on, here's where we're at. Can you go back to the attendance goal? So the same thing, it just kind of, it would be the data that we had for 6 weeks, because that's how we track it, that's how we fund ADA. So we could just give you a snapshot on where we think we're going attendance wise. Right now, we just give you an enrollment, but this would help you see it like live, either at a brown bag or once a month. Can you go to like, I guess what's strategic goal with the reading scores, you know? 2.1. So like we have all this on here showing you what we've been doing, but we're building as we go, but this would be, okay, this is what we were, and this is like our scores, I guess this was benchmark or math data, here's our benchmarks, here's our goal, and as the year goes on, you're gonna see kind of tracking.
So you can see it there as December, February, April, so we can track it by month.
And then we show you this, like, you know, okay, here's where we're tracking, just kind of give you an idea of where we're going. I know we went through everything, but you're seeing how we're building it, developing it, and all the things that we're doing as we go in to get to the goal. And then go back to, there's another one that kind of showed the last one that Dodie was doing, and that Dodie, yeah, 3. The same thing here as we do the map scores, you can see, this would, all this stuff down here, we probably wouldn't share with y'all, but at each board meeting, we can spend about 15 minutes just kind of going through each chart and talking about where we are. Because that was kind of the tool that we saw. Right now, we have all the extra data, but we'd probably take all that out just for the regular board meetings to go through it. You can go to my website.
But before we start, Brandon, could we take maybe just a 5-7 minute little quick break? Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah. Well, Christmas?
Sure.
You ready? You want to put it? All right. Go ahead, sir. I need my.
I'm sorry.
This is the key piece. So, really as of April, our goal was $4 million. You know, the members of the budget committee here, we've gone through a process where we looked at staffing ratios, we brought that to you to get approved. Then we went through a stipend exercise to look at stipends, to see if we have excessive stipends, things that we can do without. I know those are hard decisions that you guys had to play a part in. We're gonna make somebody unhappy because when you're messing with money, it just happens. But we're trying to find, I don't wanna call it waste, but things that we were doing that possibly don't need to be doing anymore because we are, I know the word came up, broke. Like, we're not broke, but we can be if we continue down the path that we're on. So having a deficit budget with a healthy fund balance, but as you see when Scott presents, he's showing you over time that your rainy day fund is going to be depleted if we continue the way we're operating financially. And so that's kind of big for us. So this is a right step in the right direction. We can't accomplish this all in 1 year, but over time, based on our growth in our revenue, hopefully from Austin, which I'll talk a little bit about, that we can get back on the right track and get to a balanced budget. And then one day start building back up our fund balance to save it for things like capital projects and nice things for Christmas incentives and those types of items that we've been able to do in the past. So this is kind of showing you in this, as we go through the year. So like next month I can bring, okay, here's what we've done now, and there's where we're at trying to reach this goal. I put 3.1 on there because I wanted to share with you a running tally that I have here that you have in front of you of the savings that, these are true savings. There's a couple on here that are some pending items, but we think that's gonna happen. So I'm not gonna go through each one and spell them out, because some of these are people. So we really need to say it out in public who these are, and if they're leaving or what's going on. But kind of gives you an idea, if you get down to where it says, sorry. Yeah, let me make sure, yeah, okay. Yeah, because I was looking at the black and white one, I needed the red one. So like, right where it's red, the first one, insurance contribution. So where you're seeing the 2.4 million, we were at 3.1, and there's two items there. One of them we're gonna work on, to make sure that we can put it back into the savings. But when we brought up your medical rates for the next year for our employees, y'all made the decision to add to that. Right now, we're estimating it's about 506,000, but this depends through enrollment, if we add more staff, or if less staff takes our insurance because of the increase, that number can go down. But so, as we were working, we were getting to this number of 3.1, but you throw in that $500,000, now, that's why you're seeing that 2.4 down there. There's another item on there that we're gonna work through. We do have a coordinator that left CTE, that was budgeted for CTE. Now they're, gonna do something different. So we're trying to figure out a way, I have it on here, but we're gonna try to figure out a way to pay for that federally. The rest of those in the bottom, are items that we did have to add. I did talk about, when we went into do the ratios, one area that it's just growing on us. I don't know if you can go back to the first slide, or the slide with the enrollment that you showed. Right there, so you see 14.8 enrollment is a district. We're over 20% special ed. So 20% of our budget, is going to special ed. So we're receiving about $16 million from the state of Texas. 100% of that goes to special ed department, and we're spending $20 million locally on special ed. So most districts aren't doing that. And we also have our federal allocation that comes in that we have on top of that.
We're spending 20 additional million?
So we're,
Total of 20.
so if you look at local budget, so the state of Texas and the foundation gives us about $16 million for special ed.
Okay.
They tell you you only have to spend 55% of that on special ed. We spend probably 125% of that. So we actually have to use other general ed funds to cover, because we're spending $20 million on special ed in the general fund. And then we have an additional $3.2 million that we get from the federal government. So we're spending about almost $24 million on special education in our district. I'm just using an example because that's one area we haven't been able to stop, because we are growing in that number, so we had to add. I only bring that up because that's why you see the red down there. Those are positions that we did have to add. There was no way around it based on our population, the numbers that we have in our schools. And so
are you saying that because you had to add all these things,
No.
that's gonna be a reason we don't hit 4 million?
No, the only two those were accounted for in that 3.1. You can go back to 3.1, sorry, I'm skipping around here. So the special ed population that we took into that account, so really the 3.1 only has to do with all the special ed education part we added, plus all the subtractions. Really, it's that one coordinator and the insurance, which is where we're off about 500, almost 600,000.
Okay.
So I just wanted to bring that up because our goal was 4 million, but then when we did that, we all agreed kind of like that might not impact us it may impact us not getting to the 4 million that we're trying to do. I still think we're gonna get there because we haven't touched budgets yet, so we're gonna look at budgets department across the district. And the other side of that is we're not able to do revenue now because we can do some runs on revenue and projections, but we're still waiting on the legislator, which is the second sheet here. So we were really excited. I know Dr. Ball was excited. Scott was real excited with the House bill that they proposed. It did cause us to have an increase in salaries, which we get more money, we want to do that. And then they were going to increase the basic allotment to a significant number. It wasn't as much as we wanted, but it was going to be good for our district. And then the Senate has their own bill. And apparently today, the Senate sent out this one pager with Representative Buckley from the House on it as their proposal. So it's like they've made a deal, which they pretty much are gonna throw out the House bill and propose that go with the Senate bill. And I don't know, this is kind of like speculation right now, but everybody's kind of like, it looks like there's been a deal been made between the House and the Senate, and this is what they're going to propose. And really in this proposal is $4.2 billion are gonna be given to teachers. So they're gonna propose eight billion across the state, but 4.5 is going straight to teachers. Why is that so important? Because in the House bill, there was gonna be significant increases for teachers, but it was gonna be librarians and nurses and counselors as well. This bill does not have them in there. And so you can look at the numbers. If you're in enrollment over 5,000, which that's us, so if you're a teacher, 3 to 4 years of experience, you get a $2,500 increase, which the House bill was probably not gonna be that much. And then if you're over 5 years, you get $5,500. So any teacher that has 5 years plus is gonna get a pretty substantial raise.
Why did the, so much schools get so much more money?
Because they're so far behind, usually these rural schools, their scale is so below the other areas. Correct. The closer you get into the metropolitan areas, the higher the wages usually. So this is significant for us because there's really no set aside for any other employee in this version. They have some other financial, the rest of it, teacher preparation, very specific on how you can spend that. Special education, which I told you, we really need that, so that's gonna help us, but that is gonna be designated for special education. Early learning is a new program, so those funds are gonna be designated to tackle early learning in our early ages. CTE is a program, that fund's gonna be specifically designated CTE, not to be used on salaries for bus drivers or anything else. And then they have a school finance reform, flip over in the back. So there's, the 8 billion, there's 1.3 billion left for the rest of us to spend on these things.
$55 basic allowance.
Increase, correct. But no, the big catch to it, which has got us, the financial people in trouble, which is gonna be hard to explain to y'all, they're messing with tier 2 funds and taking away how much our golden pennies are worth to give us it back into the basic allotment. So they're taking our money somewhere else and put it in the basic allotment. So it won't be an increase for us. We'll actually lose funds because we're gonna get more money in our golden pennies than we would for $55 in our basic allotment.
Do we have golden pennies?
Yes, we do. We have all of them. Yeah.
I thought we had all our pennies.
Yes, we do. And so then, they're gonna tell us we need to spend money on school safety allotment, which, I mean, they're telling us where to spend it. They're giving $255 million to charter facilities funding, has nothing to do with us. $300 million to small and mid-sized allotment, that doesn't, any funding for us. $42 million for regional variations in insurance costs, that's DRS, which we're not in. And then $300 million in miscellaneous adjustments and tier 2 impacts, and that's like a whole harmless based on new golden penny. So pretty much the whole bill is, all of it's going to teachers and the rest of it's gonna go to programs. And there's no money set aside for us to give, not really help our deficit, because there's no money gonna be set aside for operations like transportation. There's no transportation allotment. There's no, our facilities budgets that's gone out the roof. And then if we're gonna give 5 teachers at 20 years, we'll probably make more than all our assistant principals based on this scale.
Oh, it doesn't even include principals?
It doesn't include anybody but teachers.
But teachers.
Oh,
Not even like even in the House bill, at least, and now they're still gonna work on it, cause they're gonna sit and negotiate, but we're being told that the Senate is a kind of a non-negotiable, it's either you get this or you don't get nothing. And so the House is, I mean, we wanna fight, call them and say, hey, take care of us, but then we don't wanna go, at least we're getting our teacher something, but at the same time, it's not really gonna help us
With our deficit. So if so our nurses, librarians, I know we're not getting them money for that, but if we wanna give them money, then our deficit's just gonna be bigger.
Correct. Well, and the other piece to this is, so when you give a flat raise, so they're saying we have to give every teacher $5,500. They're gonna give us the money for that, but they're not gonna give us the money for the benefits that we're gonna get charged, like taxes and things that we pay as a district for that. So there's gonna be an added cost to us by giving these raises as well. So it won't even be enough money to cover the raises for the teachers, because it's not, this is a flat, the way it's written is flat. So that means you can't take out the taxes and the TRS that we have to pay for it, that belongs to the district. So it was a pretty rough.
And that's why there was such a push to contact your legislators,
Correct.
because
And now,
They're not gonna
they didn't think it
Yeah.
out very
They don't
well.
listen.
Correct.
The senators don't listen.
Correct.
They're just ignorant.
so I bring that up because this is pretty crucial, because, yes, okay, I'm gonna tell you this, so I'm gonna say it. We added to the insurance, if this goes through, you have a whole bunch of employees that, I mean, it's gonna probably eat away at what we did. So at least we did something to help, but that's not gonna help us with our $12 million deficit. Because luckily we've done here and we have some savings, right? We're hoping to get back into the $9 to $7 million deficit and then keep working on it next year, but it's gonna be hard because you're gonna have like a bunch of teachers making a lot of money, and we're gonna have bus drivers and custodians and assistant principals and counselors and nurses and librarians that are not getting anything.
We might have to have assistant principals when
Well,
they
you
go back
won't
to the
know yet,
classroom or
but
something.
what do you think the other districts are gonna do?
Mhm.
They're already
Well-
in deficits also.
But prior to this coming out, at the last Region 20 meeting that we had, most of the superintendents did say they were still gonna give a raise. Even something small, 1.5, 2%, everybody was still talking. SAISD had already announced, but everybody else was talking about giving it.
So if we give it 2%, this happens, then we gotta give them an additional?
So that's why
Or
I said,
is
we
that
don't
part-
really wanna give teachers raises until we find out what they're gonna do, because
Mhm.
if they give that, and we already gave them 2% to them, then we have to put whatever our raise is. So whatever like right now, whatever our scale is, we have to add $5,500 per teacher that's over 5. So we don't wanna increase that yet until we see what that's gonna play out. I'm hoping they're gonna go back and say, no, let's figure something else out. Maybe it's 3,000 a teacher, and then here's a little bit of pot for everybody else, and let's put in the nurses, librarians, at least to help us cover those folks, and then we can use some of our savings to help everybody else. So I mean,
Well, let it be known,
Could,
it's
if they do
on the
go
state.
with their proposal for the raises, then couldn't we just do raises for everybody? Like, we wouldn't have to give our teachers a raise if we're already saying they're
That's
gonna
already
get
the
this
raise.
much money of a raise.
Correct.
So, then we would, so what we're gonna need to see is, we're gonna need to see numbers.
Correct.
We're gonna need to see,
Mhm.
if we give paraprofessionals this percent, this is what it's gonna cost us.
Correct.
If we give librarians, nurses, whoever it is,
Mhm.
then we need to know what we're looking at.
Correct.
That's what Scott will start working
yeah,
on.
I mean,
Yeah.
we'll start doing the runs on that, and then we'll also get the runs that we're gonna use based on this. The hard part is, it's hard to do, we were able to do, that's why we were able to show you some data from the House bill, because the language was spelled out for us a lot better, and it matched up to our templates. This is not, this is just like, it's flat.
And what happens
It's like-
is when they're discussing this, they don't go into detail about all these
Correct.
other things that
That Senate
are
is a little
going
bit
to
more
affect
vague.
us.
Yeah.
Flo, they're not.
I know, they're not
So,
in the
the
schools.
committee,
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna
this
step away.
was, yeah, so this was the information that we had, in regards to, at first, we felt very good in regards to the savings that we were doing. We still feel good, but it's going to be difficult. So we're gonna move on to, strategic priority 4.
Okay.
And in there, we have some, 2 of the items that Dr. Hogan, is helping us oversee in regards to the metric. So Dr. Hogan, if you wanna start to address those?
So the first one on here has to do specifically about the behavior matrix, and where this came from is our results driven accountability specifically for special ed and bilingual. And that's typically comes up when we are at a specific grading, and that's usually looking at scores. And what we did is kind of a root cause analysis, and really what we found from a lot of the information from teachers, from the campuses, and just looking at our data, is it came really down to a lot of classroom management, which goes back to a lot of the conversation we've had today, that we have a lot of DOI teachers, we have a lot of brand new teachers that are still learning just how to navigate a classroom. So what we did was we created a behavior matrix that is a district-wide, in terms of a plan itself, and then each campus really went in and looked at how they were going to implement it on their campus, so really tailoring it to their students. So the idea with this, because we meet with TA on a monthly basis, is to make sure that by the end of the year, 100% of our campuses have taken that matrix, and they've tailored it to their campus. So every month we have met on that. Our last meeting with TA is actually the beginning of June, and we will submit all of the matrix pieces to them, and we will have 100% of the campuses that will have tailored that matrix to them. What's interesting with this work is that because I have our MTSS coordinator, Natalie Alanis, who's doing a lot of this work, is that each of the campuses really have taken the time to see that every campus has unique challenges. They all have challenges right now, but in terms of really understanding who their students are, understanding what their teachers need in terms of training and just expectations in terms of what goes on in the classroom, it's really helped to kind of help them look at what needs to be done moving forward for next year. So this is really, although we want 100% of the plans by the end of this year, the idea has been to move this work forward so that every teacher every year really has an opportunity to hone in on those skills. So that's that particular goal itself. Any questions about that? And this benefits all students, it's just that we were targeting specifically because of the two groups.
Okay,
Thank you.
then Aubrey, we could talk about the next one in regards to the special ed referrals.
So this is one of my favorite goals, because one of the things that, I know Dodie puts up that very first screen that shows you 20% is our population for special ed. Last year, one of the things that I really focused on was the fact that in terms of the region, our Region 20's average last year was really around 11%, was what most districts kind of felt. That was the average, 11%, and we sat at 19%. The upcoming information for this year is the region is sitting at 16% and we're at 20%. So we have really reduced that number in terms of that gap between what the region is and what we are. One of the ways that we are addressing that is really looking at our referrals. So the idea here with this particular goal is we're reducing the percentage of our assessments that do not qualify. And all that really means for us is that we're turning in really good referrals, because if it's not a referral that really is a genuine referral that we're potentially looking at a disability, then we aren't looking specifically at intervention. So this is making sure that the actual referrals that are coming in are really showing that we're doing due diligence in terms of looking at the intervention and making sure that we have done, really exhausted all of our efforts prior to actually moving into a referral. And so we started at 6%, and you'll see that number fluctuate within the month, because springtime is always our biggest months in terms of the actual referrals. But we are, as of today, sitting at 4.12% in terms of the do not qualify rates. And the idea for us is the gold standard is really 3%. That's what you want to see, is 3% of your referrals actually DNQing. So we're getting closer to that, and that really has taken a lot of effort, because every campus is really having to be very genuine in terms of looking at their intervention.
Thank you.
And then I have the last goal. The last goal is that we want to ensure that 90% of our campus will pass the intruder detection audits. Currently, we've had 16 audits this year, and we've had 11 pass and 5 fail. 2 of the failures, one of them was basically when they come on, they check 2 things. They're checking your doors, but they're also checking that you have door logs. So you're supposed to do weekly door checks and log those. At one campus, I'm not going to say names because we're an open public forum and we can share this in closed session at one point. One of them was basically the person that they met with wasn't the principal, and that person didn't know where the logs were, so we got dinged on that. The second one was that the logs were updated, but it was 2 days missing off the logs. And then the other 3 were we had, somebody let somebody in, then we had 2 doors that weren't. And so we still have 2 pending, 2 campuses that still need to get their audit. The strategies we use is if there is a finding, there is a process that we have to follow. There has to be retraining of the whole staff, and so we do have a department that focuses on that. And so we'll track this, but our goal is to be at 90%, and right now we're at about 73%.
90% for the 25-26 school year?
Correct. Well, this was to show you that because we started this kind of already after we had findings, and so we're showing you what this is going to look like for going into next year. Because when we started creating this, we were already in January, we already had 3 campuses that didn't meet the audit. And so going to next year, the goal is to be 90%.
Brandon, real quick, how are we in line with other districts?
The thing is, this is not public knowledge. We don't announce it. We have to turn it into TA, and then we have to report to y'all. But we don't know, there's nobody can go in there and see, okay, so.
Do you think it should be higher than 90?
It should be 100%, but 90% would be all but one. We could say 100%, but.
Are these are monthly checks, right? Is it?
No, we have to do weekly logs.
Quarterly?
These are once a year.
Oh.
Once a year, TA has a group that comes in and they try to breach your school. Or once once you pass that part, they come in your school and they wanna review all your logs that you've actually done your logs.
When we have a school that we have like, kind of like you talked about the logs, do we let the other principals know this is what happened? So that way they can make sure they're set
Yes.
up, so.
Yes. So actually, what we have, when we found out that they weren't doing their logs, and I get the email, we have somebody that checks the logs weekly, because it's all digitalized. So if they hadn't updated their logs by the Friday, the principal and me and the executive director, get a email giving them directive to get their logs updated. So that's it, because they'll go around and do their checks, but then they'll forget to log it. And if they didn't log it, it didn't happen. So that's the key to that. So, but yes, if we have a special search situation and we find out it happened we had one of those, where, I don't wanna get too much details, but we were able to tell all the principals, this is what happened, so be aware, this could happen on your campus as well.
Okay, so now this is the time that the board can give us input in regards to, you feel that one of the strategic priorities should be changed. The goals under those priorities will change, for example, as once we get the test results, in regards to whether it's the map, the star data, all that could definitely change. Once we see where we end with attendance, then we would adjust, the goal. But the big chunks of the strategic priority is, does any board have a concern that we continue to focus on those things, that our focus continues to be to retain, recruit, and develop talent? That one of our second strategic priority, our focus be to improve academic performance. That the third one be to continue to work on optimizing our fiscal and operational efficiencies. And then the fourth one, that we foster a safe and supportive environment.
I think the current goals are still a work in progress.
Right.
And I think I commend you all for where we're at. And I think we just continue going with these goals and then take a good look at them over the summer. When we get more numbers and hopefully we know more about Austin and,
What do you think about the dashboard? If we start to use that once a month, starting next school year, to share this information using this dashboard? Do you like this dashboard?
Will this be a public info type dashboard, or will
For
this
the
be
board.
staff board only?
It'd be senior staff and board.
Okay.
And like I said, I know we're putting all our notes on there just to kinda, cause we're building as we go, but I think it'll just be dashboard for you to see, okay, where are they at?
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
like
just a glimpse of like, are we on task? Are we working on it? Have we started? Where we, and so.
Any other comments, questions?
I like the dashboard.
And I would say this about Dodie, she's like, I remember when Dodie was in curriculum instruction, we came over, we made her do all this stuff, and like, she had to learn how to do algorithms and all kinds, so like, she did a really good job. We went over there and I said, hey, and she created it, she did
She did a phenomenal job. And Mackenzie helped too, but.
And Winston.
And Winston.
Winston's like, what?
The other goal I have, and I said it already, is increasing the participation. It's good that we're gonna increase the participation, but we're gonna have to know what we're gonna do with the information.
Oh, on goal number 1?
Yeah, the surveys, the climate, your surveys, because, I mean, as board members, we hear like, oh, so-and-so at this school is horrible, so-and-so at this school is horrible, and you just really only hear from like 2 or 3 people. So then, are they really horrible? Or the other 80% of the teachers say they're not horrible? So that's gonna be really important for us to know.
Okay.
So we, you know,
Would
just hear from the same 3 people and
Would
then-
you want it by campus or like an overall district, like a cumulative, like, cause I don't know how we could probably put a dashboard by campus, but that would be like a whole other session, you know what I mean?
No, I don't know how I want it.
I would
we
wanna
could-
see it by campus, I mean, what? it
No,
doesn't
you can
make
see it by
any-
campus, but like, just for a quick update for you.
Yeah, I
But it
don't
would
think
be-
on a dashboard by campus,
And then an overall?
but to us,
To you.
Okay.
by campus.
We can do that. That's easy. We have that, so we can definitely
should
That way they don't have
Personal
Yep.
information.
too much information.
Yeah.
They just brag or talk about.
Yeah.
On this, priority
we
one,
can discuss
goal
with
two,
them.
Yeah, but
the
we
retention,
should.
We should
Is
see
there
it,
any way
not
that-
discuss it with anyone else.
with the I mean, I guess the trying to retain the teachers, it seems like from one year to the next, they do leave, and then it's next thing you know, it's like they're finding out the grass is not greener on the other side, and they're wanting to come back. What is it that we can do to keep them here and not wanting to go, with just a simple talk, or maybe, hey, maybe we can move them to a different school or something, just to keep them instead of leaving?
Right, and we do that currently. You know, there was a teacher today that was crying in her car.
Yeah.
And somebody had to talk to her and, you know, let her know, okay, tell me what your concern is. So we definitely do that. It's part of really the retention program in regards to having the mentor, knowing that you can go talk to somebody, so supporting them in different ways. So we definitely want them to stay without ever having to leave and find out the grass is not that green.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is the,
We hear it all the time.
what is the norm for them to know where they go to or who they can talk to? I mean, is there a specific person in charge of counseling them?
The specific person that oversees this is Leslie. So Leslie meets with them, talks to them, then we also have 2 consultants that go and meet with them and talk to them and provide us a feedback sheet, on a monthly basis.
Okay, that's what.
So going back to the budget.
Yes.
We based our budget on a certain amount of ADA.
Correct.
What was it?
Going into this
For the one we're ending.
third,
August.
about 13.1.
Okay,
So-
and then, so what was, are we gonna get any more money because we have better ADA
Mhm.
that's gonna help us with
Correct.
this stuff?
At the end of the, well, so between what I'm running on template-wise and revenue-wise versus what the state projected for us, because they looked at what we were in the past, and so they created this, a lower amount, because we were turning in lower amounts of ADA. We're far exceeding that, so last year, I remember, I think I shared with y'all that we actually in settle-up got an extra like $6 to $7 million. I'm thinking it's gonna be closer to 10 this year. So it's, in the past, where they were overpaying us and we had to deal with it, we're actually gonna need to get this up. It's, why it's bad for us is because we actually need the money, because we have the people and, you know, and paying it. So it's good to have a good fund balance, because we don't all invest it all, because we need to have some cash on this hand to make our payments, and then we get our money back. And so it's gonna be good for us. At the end of this year, we're gonna see some pretty good revenue, in comparisons to the previous, of what ADA was. So yes.
Brandon, in the future, if we, decide that we need to, you know, whenever we're ready to build other more schools or whatever, what has the legislature said about that? Is it gonna get even worse than what it is now?
Well, as far as building schools and
As
like.
far as helping us?
And bonds or?
Oh, well, first of all, our values now are to a point where we will never get any more state aid, just based on our landscape in our area. That's been gone for us for almost 3 to 4 years, probably more than that, since
So
the
it's
last
not gonna-
bond.
yeah.
So I don't see them
It's
giving
not-
us any
it's
more,
just one.
facilities allotment or anything like, most of that's kinda gone away. So there's nothing in any legislation that shows that, especially with this increasing and,
So that would be a reliance on bonds only, right?
correct. Yes, ma'am.
The sheet that I just handed out is something that the district should be very proud of. These are all the teachers that we have that will be receiving their teacher incentive allotment. So all the board, if you could, this is the entire schedule, so you can make it for all the days, some of the day, or of course none of the day. But if you wanna join us as we go and celebrate the teachers on Tuesday, May the 20th, that's the schedule, the campus, and who will be going with. Also, do remember that on May the 20th at that board meeting, you'll also get to congratulate them and see them. That board meeting of next week, May the 20th, is a huge board meeting, so we'll actually be meeting in the cafeteria. We are recognizing all these teachers, the soccer team, the Penguin Project students, the student of the month, the attendance student, there's lots of individuals, so it was over 100 individuals that we'll be celebrating, so we're gonna move the meeting there so everybody can come in and be comfortable. So please keep it.
Cafeteria's big enough?
Yes, we'll be able to accommodate there. And then the last, a few things that I wanted to remind everybody is that on Friday, Chief Palomo continues to honor and celebrate the police department, so it is another, burger bun bash. So if you'd like to go to recognize the police department, that is gonna be on Friday at from 11 to 1:30 in Building 700. So everybody's invited. So one more last thing. Over 4 months ago, I made a promise to the students, specifically to the football team, that if they beat John Jay, I would treat them to a lunch. So one student reached out to me and he did not forget about this. So on Monday, the 19th, here at the stadium, you're invited if you'd like to come have lunch for, with the football team for beating the John Jay team. So this was a promise made a long time ago, but honoring my word and specifically because they did not forget.
What time?
Where's that gonna be at?
At 12:30, just at the stadium, in between, like where the concession stand is, and we'll put it.
The way the soccer team did the,
Not the football.
No.
oh, the stadium over here.
The football stadium. Yep. But of course, I'll send you a text and remind y'all.
There's on the outside. And it'll be on the Friday notes.
It'll be in the Friday notes.
Then
Yes.
it'll be on the Monday notes.
Yes. Are you trying to say I sent too many notes?
No.
Say Friday notes come on Monday.
Well, it's only this time, guys, only this time, because I was out of town.
Are y'all gonna, on Monday, the 20th, are y'all taking the checks to the teachers?
No, they don't get the checks,
Oh, they
we're
don't
just
get-
taking a big, one of those big checks,
Okay.
but not their actual check, so we haven't gotten the money for that yet. So they know that'll be coming in their June paycheck.
You mentioned senior walk?
Excuse me?
Senior walk?
Oh, senior walk, please don't forget, that's tomorrow. So we start that.
Okay.
That's all we have.
And the walk.
The walk is at 7.
The
What
walk.
school
7?
is it tomorrow?
Southwest High School, oh, I'm sorry.
What time do we start?
5:30.
5:30?
5:30 is the festival, 7 o'clock is the walk.
Is the walk at 7 or?
The walk
Yes,
is at
the walk-
7.
The actual walk is at 7, but there'll be lots of food trucks if you wanna come, and
Anything else?
Who's wearing what? Castem, no? Castem's on-
Castem's next week.
Oh, okay, so Southwest.
tomorrow we're Southwest High School.
Hearing nothing else, this meeting is now adjourned.